Hello, and welcome back to the Random Horror Show. And of course, I am your host, Keisha Lacey. And thank you for listening to this little rinky dink horror podcast coming straight up out of the Iron Pine Curtain of East Texas. And of course, here at the Random Horror Show, where we film, commentate, being random and silly, just off on tangents, but we come back where we meet in the middle and everything and come to conclusions with horror, science fiction, fantasy, cult classics, and the obscure in movies, television, and books. I hope y'all are doing very well. I had a little bit of a pickle and everything. My tire fell off my car, off the ball bearing joint of the car, and I'm just like, this is a wonderful day. But alas, I had a wrecker. I was over a client's house, and I was doing her brows, and I'm leaving out of her neighborhood, turning down the main street in a residential area to turn on the main street to get back home, and it just said bloop bloop bloop, just like that. I was like, what in the hey? Oh, that really really sucked. But tonight's random show podcast is going to be Rawhead Rex, the 1986 horror thriller. It's actually, um, you know, really written on the book of Blood by Clive Barker. We all know Clive Barker from Hellraiser, the Books of Blood. I mean, he came up with the Order of the Gash, Cenobites. He's really, he's like a wonderful literary. He's definitely the master of horror. Um, he's a little bit more deeper. We have Stephen King, but then Clive Barker he lived a bit more deeper. He deeper in the horror. And of course, I read Clive Barker books when I was in high school, and you know, and also in college, and of course for leisure. Clive Barker really he really has some like really great horror literary literature out there. Um, he's really he's like the road dog of it. It really is. But this is based on his Book of Blood of Rawhead Rex. Rawhead Rex is actually based in the Irish countryside, and where I forgot where it was filmed in Wicklow. It's filmed in Wicklow County, in the countryside of Wicklow County. Now, when they did this movie, he wanted all just control of it. He did do the screenplay of it because it is based on his novel. Well, guess what? They just say, well, we're gonna pull like a little hookah. If y'all remember a couple of podcasts back when I was talking about Cursed, the movie, the werewolf movie, it's Wes Craven's first and last werewolf wolf movie that he did, starring Christina Ricci. You have Joshua Jackson, Old Pacey from Dawson's Creek, and Jesse Eisenberg. I still mess up Columbus name, but of course, the whole production of Cursed was up under the Weinstein, all that jizma jazz, and they just literally just tore the whole script up, um, just made all these complete stupid changes with Cursed. Well, it's the same thing here with Rawhead Rex. Um, that's the reason why Rawhead Rex really left Clive Barker raw with emotions, and he was pissed off. And that's the reason why when he did Hellraiser, he was literally, had complete control. And of course, they changed the names in Hellraiser, of course, Kirsty and, her dad, in the book, it wasn't her dad. But that was Clive Barker because he felt like they done effed up my whole movie, Rawhead Rex. He tried to make it just as close as he can what he did in his novel. And they just say, you know what? Just fuck it. We just gonna put, the deity demon, in a latex suit. It took him a week to like produce this whole latex suit, and it did. It looked really, really cheesy. I mean, and I totally understand why Clive Barker felt some type of way. Um, when you read about Rawhead Rex in the novel The Book of Blood, Rawhead Rex is actually has a face that represents raw meat. He has a raw meat face and head and everything. It's also phallic shaped, so he's shaped basically like a raw meat dick. Rawhead Rex is a raw, it's a raw dickhead. It's just a raw dickhead roaming in the Irish countryside, just killing people. Well, just besides that, it's a mixed bag for me with Rawhead Rex. I did like it because, it does take place differently. It's not based in America, it's based in Ireland. We don't hear like a lot of stuff from Ireland. I mean, the last thing that we heard news from Ireland was, the crowning of their, Miss Ireland and everything. And, she's black. And that was like, she's fine as hell, too, and everything. She's gorgeous. And that's the only thing we hear, other than years ago with the Troubles. And, there's part of Ireland that is, Republic of Ireland. You know, I'm trying to get everything like all together, but it's like two different like kind of like the North and the South, like in America. When in the Civil War you have the North and you have the South. It's the same thing that it is in Ireland. I did talk to somebody that is from Ireland, and I asked them some questions, and I even didn't even know. I thought they all came together like after all of the troubles and everything. That's what they call it. And no, they just came to like, well, we just operate on two different, you know, levels. But yeah, I was just like, oh, that's interesting right there. But as to say, with Rawhead Rex, it is part. I liked it because it is like when we hear about Ireland, and of course, like, you have people like, oh, St. Patty's Day. I love St. Patty's Day because that's like 4 days after my birthday, so I do celebrate like my birthday with St. Patrick's Day. And the wonderful, beautiful like history of Ireland, because they had their own language, they had their own writing, they had their own gods and goddesses and deities, and a religion. I mean, that little tiny island and shit was on and popping until who had to step in and just fuck shit up. England, and, Prussian, shit like that. But I want to go to Ireland. And actually, I do have some Irish ancestry in my blood. So, I would love to go to Ireland and just check it out. And I mean, I want to be like amazed by everything in Ireland, especially, these are people that like actually have their own culture. I mean, they still have their own culture and language. Um, they still have that. I mean, I mean, I was like, shoot, I'm game right there. but we never like really um just really just see like a movie. Like we see few movies that are made in Ireland, but we just never just like know anything a lot about Ireland, of just the basic things that we get as, here in America, in America and stuff. And I find it to be very, I find it to be a very disservice that we don't hear a lot of things about Ireland, and like how their theater and their movies. I know there's like comedians that came. I forgot that comedian that damn, the comedian dude and everything. He's from Ireland. I forgot his name, but that motherfucker is funny as shit. But of course, we have music like U2, the Cranberries, Sinead O'Connor. I love Sinead O'Connor for real though. I hated when people like condemned her whenever she did that whole ripping of the Pope's picture, and I remember that on Saturday Night Live, and they condemned her for that, and I was just like, why are y'all doing that? I'm not part of Catholicism. I've known people that were in Catholicism, and they're just like, we just dip the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? They're just like, peace, because of all the crazy shit, especially um, with the whole priest and the raping the little altar boys and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? That's just like messed up right there. But I always wanted to like want to know like how other different countries, other than, we have Korea with they're coming out with like so many movies. England, they always like UK, we call it England, UK, it doesn't matter. The UK always come with their horror movies. Um, you know, Different types and things like that. Even Mexico. I've always wanted to. I'm still sick, to like know how their film industry, their horror industry, how they like put horror movies together, what makes them scary, like what's something that they find that scary to them in their culture and stuff. And I feel that's like really pretty cool. But on with what I'm rambling about. I'm gonna stop and everything. But Rawhead Rex is about a guy. His name, got a homeboy name and shit. I always forget characters' names and stuff. You could tell like the direction of like, if I really am into a movie, I will remember their names, but really I just fucking don't. But I'm just gonna look up their names as is anyways. There I am. We have Howard. Howard and his wife and his kids. They're staying in this little Irish town. It's dead ass boring. Well, Howard is actually a um a historian, and he's very very interested like in the whole folklore and the history of the little town that they're in. Of course, we come through, and there's this guy. He is trying to knock down the pillar. It's like a little pillar statue just sitting up there in the middle of the countryside, and he have his mates sitting there trying to pull this damn little pillar out because it's just in the darn way. He's just trying to get this sucker out because he's just like, I'm so sick of this little pillar thing. But he doesn't really know that like this pillar that's sitting up in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, in his pasture, is actually keeping Rawhead Rex buried, because Rawhead Rex is buried alive, and he's been buried down there for like centuries and centuries and things. Rawhead Rex is actually a deity, and he was like revered as a god, millennia back. And when they moved this, he moved the pillar, and there was a storm that was coming and brewing in, and that's like some big ass foreshadowing right there Oh my gosh, look at the sky. It's black as hell. It's a storm brewing through. It's got a this wicked way coming in shit, coming through there. You got Jonathan Price. No, I'm just playing. Jonathan Price was not in this movie. Something this wicked this way come. But yeah, he knocks that sucker just got knocked down and everything with all the forces of nature. Um Here comes Rawhead Rex. He murders him. So Rawhead Rex is like, all right, I'm back. He was like James Brown. He's like, I'm back. Dun, 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 I'm back. Dun, 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 dun. And of course, he's going to start all his massacre all through town. Now, there is something to defeat Rawhead Rex. While Howard is taking pictures of like the church, um, the cemetery, he calls on for Reverend Coot. And Reverend Coot was like, hey, yeah, I talked to you. What's up? Like that. What's up? What's up? So Howard's like, do you have any records of the church? Blase, blase, because I want to know all of this stuff so I can, like, put it in my nice little neat historian book, what I'm writing about Irish, history and folklore and things like that. Something very educational. That's what we want. We like educational things. Well, Reverend Coots like, well, I got Declan O'Brien. Well, Declan O'Brien trips me out. Declan O'Brien was like super litty lit. Declan, I probably can pronounce it Declan, was, it's like he like the preacher up in there. And you also have like some foreshadowing inside the church. You do see in the stained glass of where you have Rawhead Rex. He's laying down in the stained glass, and there's like this little pillar, and there's like these people like, oh, like, oh my God, there's Rawhead Rex, and it's like this hand, like the hand of God, some kind of like that going on with that. But we also see like when the light is shining through the glass, the stained glass of Rawhead Rex that is in this glass. The eyes are like red and is shining. Well, Declan is just, he is got this Rawhead Rex boner because now he's like, yay, my God is literally waking up like all this millennia. Man, I can't wait to like serve him. We're gonna like paint the town red with like everybody blood and stuff. Like, he was crazy. He was madness. I mean, he was like preaching like, oh ye hymns and shit with that dry ass hymns and stuff they be singing and everything. But there was like a place in front of the where he was preaching at. There was this chest, and it had the candles and bull crap on it, and little white cloth. But whenever he put his hand on the little chester, that was sitting in the front, it burned his hand, and he could also see the sight of Rawhead Rex. And so that's the reason why he got like, oh, like, shit, we finna have like a pizza party and a chicken nugget brigade up in this mother. That's how like Declan was. He was like, I'm just pretending that I'm like, oh ye, come oh ye faithful with the Lord, but really my like real Lord is Rawhead Rex. So he's all excited. But Howard and Declan, they got some words and shit because Declan was like talking crazy to him. Howard came in there, taking pictures of the stained glass, and Declan just like knocked his camera down and just broke it. And he was like cussing and stuff. I was like, brrr, brrr. Boy, that like took me out right there. It took me out because Declan, he was just bowdy, bowdy, bowdy. He was like bowdy about that Rawhead Rex life. And he was just letting Howard know, like, look, what you doing here? You need to step. So he was like, you need to step. He was like Declan was close to like clapping like that, cause he was like that, especially when he stomped on like home dudes like Polaroid pictures. He's like, you ain't got no files. I ain't giving you no files. He was like cussing him out like, fuck you, bitch. I was like, damn, like, you really are like very protective of Rawhead Rex. But Elaine, which is Howard's wife, she was just so tired. She was just like, can we go? Can we go? Can we go? Like, honey, shit, these damn two little ass kids. Cause Howard has two children. And she was like, can we go? I'm ready to go. When you gonna wrap this shit? It's like, wrap it up, B. Let's go because I want to go to Dublin. This town is boring. Like, please wrap your work up. Like, she's like, damn, I want to get some excitement, baby. She was like, shit, these little kids get on my damn nerves. And I just want to, she just want her back be blown by her husband and stuff. Because, Howard's taking way too much time to do this damn research. And she just like, shit, ain't shit here. So they was walking out in the town, just out in the streets, and they bumped into a lady. Well, they didn't bump into her, but they was just sitting up there kissing, just showing this all lovely affection and everything. And I was just like, I kind of want some sugar too, but that's okay. And so there was a lady that was just like standing right there. She had on a red cloak. Um, she just stood there, and I'm just like, ma'am, there's plenty of room. You can walk around them, let them have their sucking face moment. And the lady made a little noise, and they looked, and like, oh, okay. Um, they just stopped and they kept on going. And and Elaine, she was like, that lady looks very familiar, like I've seen her before. And I'm like, how the hell that woman look familiar to you? And y'all been in this town for 2 days. The plot thickens because this is going to come back later on. Reason why Elaine said that. Okay, this is going to like let you know. It's like the mystery right there. And so Rawhead Rex, he attacks a guy. He also went and attacked he almost attacked the guy's wife, but she was pregnant. But that is a clue right there. So we have the lady in the old lady in the red cloak that was sitting there looking at them like, y'all, will y'all please stop kissing and shit in the middle of the street? That's in one mystery right there. The second one is that when Rawhead Rex went to go and kill the woman, he stopped. You know what I'm saying? It's clue number two. So they got there and the cops there. They were like, oh shit, the husband got murdered. You got like the inspector and everything. Inspector was like, man, this is like 2 or 3 people done came in, murdered this lady husband. She's sitting up there screaming, she pregnant and everything. She must have like hid in the wardrobe and stuff. Wardrobe, closet, doesn't matter. They took her off and everything. So it was like now this little dead ass town, this little dead ass country ass town with these little country ass folks. We got some shit popping in here like popcorn. Now we're cooking with Crisco up in here. So Howard goes for a walk because he heard about what was going on outside. He heard the and Elaine's like, all right then, I'll be waiting. But shit, don't be out too damn long. You know what I'm saying? Mama needs, she was like, Mama needs her good time. So he goes walking out into the woods, like on a little path, until he sees something way in the yonder. up on the yonder on the hill. And it was Rawhead Rex. I'm like, ooh, looking crazy and shit. And it scared the hell out of Howard. And Howard's like, oh snap. He was like, I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me or these cowboy killers. He was smoking Marlboro cigarettes. He's like, the cowboy killers must be a little bit too damn strong and everything. But I'm finna head on back to my room because I want to be safe. Because I don't know what the hell that is. So we cut to a little trailer park, aka they call it a caravan. We just call them little RVs, little trailers and shit. But they're little travel trailers. But it was a caravan, little community. Well, there was a little boy. He was like playing with some toys, and his brother Andy, and he was getting all his little smoochy and shit, like with his girl and stuff. And he's supposed to be babysitting. Well, you know how like little brothers and big brothers are. And I was just like, Andy. See, I remember his name, Andy, because he was a dick to his little brother. Like, Andy, you supposed to be babysitting. Y'all know this little ass trailer and shit is just so little bitty. Like, dude, you could have went somewhere. I don't know. There's somewhere in the little back in that little ass trailer and shit. For real though, I have slept in one of those little trailers and stuff, but there is like a little compartment. You can slide the damn door, and Andy would have got it going on with his little girl and shit. But Andy had to be like a little dick to his little brother. He took his toy. Then he just like slams the door because he was like, "Hey girl, hey, let's go off in the woods. We could be a little bit comfortable." And she was like, "Ooh, I'm cold." He was like, "Man, I keep you warm." He's like, "I'm gonna keep you warm and slap this dick upside your head." That's what his intentions were. So the toy was broken, because Rawhead Rex came through the neighborhood, broke the little boy toy and shit. So, little boy, he was like, he finally got out of the trailer, and he seen his toy was broken. Now he's like really upset because he's like, man, I'm gonna kill my older brother. He broke my little toy. He's supposed to be babysitting me. He out there trying to get some cat and everything in the woods, knowing good and well he's supposed to be watching me. So he was walking out into the woods, you know what I'm saying? So he sees Rawhead, and he has a guy hanging from a tree, and he's gnawing on him. And it's like, midnight snack. And it scares the little boy. The boy was very, very terrified because he's seen the red eyes, he's seen the blood, he's seen this guy upside down, he's dead. There's this 8, 9 foot giant monster looking thing is snacking on a person. And he runs back into the caravan village. He goes to a neighbor's house. He's catatonic. I mean, come on now. He's catatonic. Even though they're trying to get him to talk, he's like catatonic like a hoe. Because like seriously, how can you like sit there and just like go, oh, yes, I'm gonna speak on this right here. What is it, boy? What is it, boy? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Sean was the neighbor, Sean. And Sean was like, what is it, boy? What is it? Speak, man, speak. And yeah, he can be like, like, hey, Sean, while I was traveling throughout the woods looking for my older brother, and he has his girlfriend, and I'm pissed off to the heavens and everything because my toy is broken. And so he locks me inside, smashing the lock in so I can't get out. But I finally got out, and I went through the woods, and I just seen this 9 foot creature with these red glowing eyes, blood dripping from his fangs, and he's gnawing on a dead man that's hanging upside down like some predator shit. And I watched him snacking on this dead man like some predator shit. And I decided to run back through the woods, through the caravan camp, and I came to your door, and it's because I'm not borrowing a cup of sugar, but I'm just letting you know I seen something really, really scary in the woods. Yeah, I can see him saying that. Of course he can't see that. He's catatonic, motherfucker. But anyways, They hear Rawhead walking all through the woods, and they seen Rawhead. Well, Andy and his girlfriend, they're running and running and running and running, and she just kept running and running and running. Andy fell down. She kept running. She had his hand and she kept running. You know what? That's the second person in a horror movie that actually she fell down, she got back up, and she kept running, and she just kept running. You know, she kept running. I'm proud of her. I'm terribly proud of her. So she ran and she let the people know, like, there was the little brother that was showing the neighbor, there's people coming out. They're like, what is the commotion? And look, she has Andy's hand. Andy got his ass tore to hell up by Rawhead. And now the neighbors in the caravan village, they're like, oh, hell no. What's up in there? We finna get our guns. No pitchforks, no torches, but they just got their guns. You know what I'm saying? They got the shotguns, they got the rifles and everything. Boy, howdy. They on a manhunt because guess what? Andy is dead now. They seen his hand. They ran up all in the woods and shit. They found poor Andy. And of course, when Andy was dead, I looked there and I was like, oh, it looks like a sheep's heart that they had on top of Andy where Raw had like mauled him to death. And I was like, that looks like a sheep's heart. It could be a pig's heart. It's close enough. It's close to like a sheep or a pig heart. I'm going with sheep. I could be wrong because it was gray and stuff like that. I used to dissect animals, but that was in college. So, memory serves me well. And plus, when I was a little girl, my grandma had me cutting up chickens and shit like that. I know how to debone a whole ass hen and bullshit like that. So, that gave me the advantage. So when I dissected um, animals that we had to do in biology, how it is. Let's dissect the pig. Let's dissect the sheep's heart and shit like that. It gave me an advantage because I learned how to cut up chicken parts. How cool is that right there? But yes, Howard, he went to the police station. Um, well, they call it whatever they call it. I don't know how they what they. I just say police station shit. Well, he went to talk to the detective and his assistant detective, and he told him he's like, look, I seen this 9-foot monster looking ass motherfucker standing yonder when I went for a walk. Shit, I had to drop my cigarette, my joint, and everything. I thought I was being delusional, but there is something that is not quite human, and this is what's going on because it's like all of this shit going on and I see something right up there. I think y'all need to investigate. Well, he got laughed off and everything because they think he was like, drinking or he smoked some good dope or something like that. So they just dismissed him. And so more murders came about, and Howard and Elaine, they got the kids. They're like, look, I can't deal with this because, they don't believe me what's going on. And so we finna like yeet out of here, out of this little dead ass little town. So they yeet out. And it was like wonderful that they yeeted the fuck out. Well, Elaine was looking out the window and she seen something about 8 foot, 9 foot tall, in the middle of the pasture. And she's like, oh crap, what is that? And so he backed up, you know, and they looked and he was like, oh, it's probably, it looks like a scarecrow. It looks like, somebody put up a scarecrow to scare. There was no corn out there, so it can't be a scarecrow. But it didn't look like Rawhead Rex, but it actually was. So they just kept on going, and they were at least out of town. Well, the little Minty, their daughter, had to go TT. And so, yes, I said TT. I do have two kids, and that's what I used to tell them when they were, y'all gotta go TT. So she had to go TT, and it was gonna be a long ass trip. And they were like, "All right, go TT." Well, one thing is that you just don't let a 4-year-old just go out in the middle of the woods to go TT. You gotta like go with them and shit. You never know. So they're just like, well, and of course, this is the 80s also. Parenting was a bit freaking different. We usually had to do shit on our own, and our parents was like, well, you can do it. You're a big girl. You're a big boy. And we were just like, but that shit's scary, bro. No, you be alright. That's how parenting was in the 80s. It doesn't fit. Well, some of it does need to be fitting for like this generation, but it's a different story. So they just like let her just go out in the little bushes and shit. I'm just like, no, you just gotta go. I mean, I'm like, really, mom? You need to go out there with your baby. She gotta go TT. Like, that's like someone mom does. But anyways, that's Elaine's ass. So they heard her scream and they're just like, oh my god, what happened? Well, there was a dead rabbit. She got scared and I guess all the TT went back in her bladder or whatever. She's just like, well, I don't need to use the bathroom anymore. But Rawhead Rex was following them while they was they yeeted out and everything. And their son, Robbie, was back there in the back seat reading the comic book. Well, Rawhead just came and just literally just tore that boy to pieces. And Howard seen it and he just couldn't do nothing. He was just like so distraught. And he was just like, oh my God, this nasty, janky ass 9-foot monster just came and just attacked my son and just took him off. And so they yeeted back into the town. And he told the detective, he told the inspector, he's like, this nasty monster looking thing that has been, completely just going around killing people, it killed my son. And they were like, oh snap, now the shit got deep and everything. So they was just like, all right, then we're gonna like get all these like people, these guards and shit. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go look for him. And he was like, I've been telling you, little son of a bitches and shit. And so the boy who was catatonic when he seen Rawhead Rex, he was at the hospital. And so he did these drawings, and the drawings depicted Rawhead Rex. And so that just like confirms it right there that like, yo, there is like this 9-foot demon looking ass monster that is roaming and just literally just tearing your residence to pieces. And they're like, all right, cool, it's unbelievable, but we believe it now. And so they gathered up all their little task force and they were looking all around. Well, Rawhead made it back to the caravan village and he attacks a group of people that was in a caravan. Well, he kills old Sean, and I was like, God dang, Sean always had this damn beer in his hand, and I'm tripping the hell out because it tickles me because it reminds me of like Gary King, who was portrayed by Simon Pegg at the World's End. Remember the fight scene in the Beehive where Simon Pegg, who plays Gary King, he had his beer and he was fighting the Nobots, the robots, all through the club at the Beehive. It got mental in the Beehive, and he just kept his beer. Well, that's how Sean was. I mean, even when Rawhead just pushed the whole damn little RV down, shit breaking everywhere, Sean still had his shit. Sean, when Sean messed up is when he put that damn beer down. He put it down, stuck his head out there. Rawhead got his ass, chewed him up. Chewed him up. I was like, damn it, Sean, that was your protection shield. Your mug of beer. That was your protection shield from that motherfucker. And yes, Rawhead caused a whole big calamity up in that little caravan park. He got one of the neighbors that was in the caravan that he pushed over, and he grabs one of the neighbor ladies. And yes, we see some boobs. They just had to literally just put some boobs in there. There was boobs. And so he just rips her like dress off. I was like, you really, I'm like, you cheeky bastard. You just want to see that lady's titties. That's what Rawhead want. He just want to see some women titties. And he threw her against her tree, but he never kills her. Clue number 3. So he just goes off and shit. Somebody came through with a damn gun. They shooting at his ass. And then they shot the little propane tank. And so shit blowed up and everything. You know, people flying everywhere. Rawhead Rex was throwing people everywhere and slashing them up. Fire everywhere. The poor little caravan park was just tore up the sunder and everything. So they made it out there, the inspector, and they seen all the people were injured, people were coughing, and they like let them know, like, look, bro, shit, it's like this 9-foot ass monster just came through and just wrecked the whole place. And that's where it's like, yeah, shit hits the fan. It's getting really getting to the nitty gritty right there. So Howard, he goes back into the church. And so he goes to like talk to Reverend Coot. But guess what? He couldn't find him. But Reverend Coot, seeing that Declan O'Brien and Rawhead having a conversation out there in the cemetery. And Declan is, like I said, he is super insane. That this is his God. He is just like having just deity demon boners over Rawhead Rex, and he was just letting Rawhead Rex like, look, man, I serve you. Oh my gosh. He's like, shit, if you kill me, oh my gosh, I will be greatly honored for you to kill me. Well, Reverend Coot seen this. He's like, oh snap, this shit is really real. Oh my God, because Reverend didn't even believe all this stuff. And he was just like, oh man, this really sucks. So like Reverend Coot, he was like running all through the church and shit. Howard came through. Um, shit. It was a battle, you had like Declan, Declan was just whooping the shit out of Howard, you know, Reverend Coot, he got his ass towed up, what I'm saying, by Rawhead Rex. It was just crazy. It was just crazy in the church. This is God's house, as Reverend Coot said, and then he gonna hold up at the little piece of shit cross and everything. I'm like, that shit don't affect this damn thing. Like, I'm like, this motherfucker ain't no vampire. This is God's house. Don't look too much like it and everything, cause that fool came in and he just started destroying shit. Same way when he went in old homeboy house and he was just tearing up the whole kitchen. I'm like, what are you tearing up the kitchen for? Why are you throwing everything from the food and the spaghetti? Are you hungry? Or you just feel like you just need to vandalize some like little teenage angsty teenager in there? I'm finna fuck up shit. Ugh. That's how like Rawhead Rex did when he did when he first killed the other guy, and then he went for the wife and he was just tearing up all her shit in the kitchen. I'm just like, what are you doing? That don't make sense. If you gonna cook, just ask. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to tear up the whole damn kitchen. But yeah, the whole church was just all kinds of tore up and everything. Reverend Coop did get his hand burnt by the when he placed his hand on the chest, and he seen some of the stuff what Rawhead Rex have been doing, and he got his it was like little bubbles, little burnt bubbles. Well, anyways, they finally made it to the church. But I didn't tell you this and everything. Rawhead Rex actually got a hold to the inspector, and he possessed him to like, look, bro, I am your God. you're going to do what I tell you to do, okay? I know who you are. So the inspector's partner and everything, they made it to the church because this is like, they don't follow all this bullshit to the church. So they were getting ready to fire, old Rawhead threw the little pastor, old Reverend Coot, Bandicoot, you know, shoot, he was already messed up as it is anyways. And the coolest thing is the other police officer. He's like the secretary, you know what I'm saying? And he was just like noticing that like the inspector came in, they were ready to fire, and they didn't want him to hit Reverend Coot before Rawhead chunked him. And so inspector came out with the gas. He like poured all that gas and stuff. He's like, I'm gonna let these hoes on fire, because the detective, the inspector, he always smokes cigars. And I was like, that is the coolest shit right there. When you have a detective and an inspector that smokes cigars. And I actually bought a cigar today. Mm. I am a big cigar smoker, but I love cigars. But anyways, so like the old dude, you know what I'm saying, the little secretary dude, he was like, ah shit, he didn't pour some gas. He was trying to get everybody, like all of the police people and stuff, and inspector lit that match. They got shit. They went up like flame broil, like some Burger King burgers and shit. That was the end of them right there. He was the only one that survived. And so he went over to Howard, and they were talking to Reverend Coot. Reverend Coot was like, you know how they are when they be trying to die? Trying to live and trying to talk. You must go in. It's in. But then, like, after he, like, died or something, I looked, he was, like, he was still breathing and shit. And I was just like, you can stop your stomach now from not moving because you're already dead, Reverend Coot. So, like, Howard goes in and he gets the tailspin. Now, this is another clue right here. So, whenever Howard puts his hand trying to open up the Chester drawer, wherever it is, the little thing that was in the church, he was like, ow, 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 hot, hot, hot. He was like, hot, 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 hot. Like Mr. Krabs with when he had the little campfire and he was telling SpongeBob and Patrick a story, and he picked up the campfire and took hot, 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 and he set it down. It was like that. So he was like, you know what? Let me use my common sense. So he took one of the candle holders and he pushed it up, and he got the talisman. And so if you look at the talisman, I just looked there. I mean, seriously, this is like so obvious because the talisman, I was just like, you have to have a woman to use that. The reason why I like picked it up so quickly like that is because of the way how it's shaped. It was a fertility talisman. It was a little statue. You can hold it, and I just looked at it and I was like, that's a vagina. And like I said, Rawhead Rex it supposedly represents like have a face of like raw meat and have a phallic shaped, head and body. So that's the reason why I put two and two together. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, a woman is supposed to like defeat him. Well, anyways, it was like showdown, in the cemetery. Howard got it, and he thought he was supposed to like throw it or some shit like that. And this is another clue. This is the reason why I said this is going to like play back of what I said earlier when Elaine and Howard was on the street kissing, and there was like an older woman with a red cloak, and she walked past by him, and Elaine's like, she looks very familiar. And here you see Elaine coming, and you're just like, okay, I get it. For some people, that is a little bit confusing right there. For like, why is Elaine running why is she running into danger? Well, when Howard got his ass knocked the hell out and everything else, and she got backhanded too, well, she was like, you know what? And I was just like, see, this is like where the confusing part is at. Because how did she know that was a talisman, and then how did she know that was something she kind of got. I mean, because in a way it's like, oh, I see what he's doing, but okay. So when she ran into the cemetery, he's all knocked the fuck out, and she went and picked it up, and that's where she had all this like Shira's Princess of Power, from the talisman. Because guess what? In How to Way to Defeat Rawhead Rex, it has to be a woman. It has to be a woman to put him down there in the grave and stuff, send Rawhead Rex back to where he's at and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So Howard like looks, he's like, oh, it has to be a woman. I'm like, duh. And then of course you see the red, cape of the old lady that they ran into on the street. And like I said, this is like giving me like She-Ra vibes and shit. You know, if y'all remember She-Ra when she came out, you know, Whispering Woods and shit. It was like that. I mean, it just threw me for a loop. I was like, She-Ra? Even like one of She-Ra's friends in the She-Ra cartoon, not the one they revamped, but the old ones. It was like a witch. She was like, I think she was like in a purple, or it was kind of like a maroonish purple cloak that she was in, but it gave me vibes like that. And of course, she puts Rawhead Rex in a grave, and there it is. And so the little boy, he's well, and they had Andy's funeral. He's putting flowers, looks like daffodils that he was putting on the grave. And when he walks off, there was like a hand pops out, Rawhead Rex ain't dead yet, bitches. And that was the end of the movie. But like I said, Rawhead Rex is a mixed bag. You do like the pros of it. You do see a movie that is um entirely filmed in the countryside of Ireland. You also have Irish actors in it too. Um, Kelly Piper and David Dukes, not David Duke, David Dukes, like Duke's mayonnaise, not David Duke. Okay, two different people. They were like the only American actors in this movie. But I liked it that it had like and you really couldn't even tell like if they were Irish. And I guess because I don't know, maybe they watered down their accents a little bit, but it did sound like they were totally talking a little bit more American in this movie. I think I would have liked a little bit of more of the Irish accents in there, a little bit strong, just be a little strong with it. I think it would have like made it a little bit more authentic and stuff, but that's just me. Ronan Wilmot, the one who played Declan O'Brien, the way how he got this role is that he started screaming and hollering and acting like a lunatic for this part, and he definitely nailed it because he like literally had me on the floor laughing. I couldn't do nothing but laugh. It was so funny because it was a surprise because he was like, oh, he in the beginning of the movie he's like had like the dusty ass like church members, singing them old dry ass hymns and shit, and he's blah 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 blah. I don't know what he be saying, but and then like afterwards he was just getting like all excited like during the service because you have the stained glass with Rawhead on it, and those eyes were like beaming. Of course, like that's foreshadowing right there. And he's just like, woo, woo, all through service and shit. I'm just like, wow. I guess light and stained glass windows get you excited, big boy, right there. Oh my gosh. I mean, this dude is literally like just. is trying to hide his like Rawhead Rex boner throughout the service. And he did an amazing job as him. He did get killed, but it was so funny. It was his character is literally insane in the membrane. I cannot believe I said that, but it just popped in my head. Okay? It just popped in my head. But I think like I said, it is a mixed bag. The pros of it, you have your wonderful Irish actors that was in this movie. Um, you had like a bit of like, like that folklore of like a deity that people like worship, and there was like a god back in the millennia. Um, I do like how you had like it took a woman to like put him back into the ground. I think if they would have let Clive Barker have so much control of Rawhead Rex, I'm telling you, this would have been like the pre Hellraiser movie. Rawhead Rex would have been pre Hellraiser. And I think that and I look at it like this, it would have been really a really good horror movie, but since of like all the bull crap that Clive went through with this movie and he hated it, it actually this flaky ass failure that he felt of Rawhead Rex, it gave him that chance to have that creative control with Hellraiser. And I think that really worked out perfectly because if this wouldn't have happened to Clive Barker, I think it just like Hellraiser when he came, when Hellraiser came out in '88, I think it just would have just been blown out, just like that. I think that like people were really terrified to let him have that control because when you read his books and then how he wanted it, like I said, Rawhead Rex supposed to have just this nasty, gross, bloody raw meat face. He's supposed to have like this penis phallic shaped body and head and everything. Um, I believe it would have like wouldn't have like it would have went through like it would have been banned. I believe it would have been because Hellraiser movies were close to being banned. Hellraiser was very close to being banned. I think what they did was trying to play it so safe to where it just pissed him off. I mean, he literally hated this movie. He did. He just hated the shit out of this movie because of what they did. And I mean, I don't blame him. I really don't. And to be honest with you, I think this movie deserves a remake. And I'm not really like super huge on remakes. I like for some horror movies just to stay like it is. Um, but the movies that I've watched, um, this one I believe it deserves a remake. It deserves literally a whole remake. It deserves Clive Barker like whole presence to be with Rawhead Rex and to really literally um to like really just pump Rawhead Rex up back again because I mean this is my first time watching this movie. And so when I was looking, I was like, okay, let's look at a horror movie that you've never seen or you haven't heard. And I've seen this title so many times when I'm thumbing through, scrolling through. And I was just like, this looks stupid. This looks dumb. So I watched it. I was like, well, it's not totally stupid. And then when I was reading up and doing my research on it, it is by Clive Barker, and I was just like, and I'm reading more and more on it, and I was just like, okay, okay, now I see the reason why this film is like it is. I was like, they really did literally, um, they really messed this up. And I said, well, I'm very thankful for Hellraiser. I'm literally thankful for Hellraiser, and because he was on it. He my audio got cut off, but what I was back to what I was saying with Rawhead Rex, and that I was appreciated. I'm appreciative of Hellraiser is because we wouldn't have got the Clive Barker that we wanted. So, excuse me, with the failure of Rawhead Rex, which pissed Clive Barker off, it was kind of like it was like a blessing in disguise for him, and he like learned from what they did to him and how much they took a lot of his power within the production of Rawhead Rex, which got him to like, yo, y'all not gonna do Hellraiser like this. Y'all not gonna do this right here to me. And without Rawhead Rex, we wouldn't have gotten Hellraiser. It is what it is, as like the old people say. But thank you all for listening to the Random Horror Show with tonight's podcast of Rawhead Rex. Go check it out. Like I said, it's a mixed bag for me. It does actually deserves a remake, and it actually does need to have Clive Barker. And we haven't had a movie particularly from Clive Barker. Um, you know, his success was the Hellraiser movies, but then he also did Lord of Illusions. I'm gonna be doing that pretty soon, whenever I get the chance. It has that film neo noir, styling with it. Um, it's definitely a movie that I liked, especially has Scott Bakula in it and Famke Johnson. I really dig it. I dig it, and I knew it was Clive Barker. I don't know, it's just how that man's like imprint on like his novels and his books of what he does. You can just instantly recognize it's Clive Barker. But that is enough of my time. Thank you for listening to the Random Horror Show. I am your horror podcast hostess, Keisha Lacey, and you have a good night.